koso wo Ghana yekrom na no kware mu ni se wonya akwan tie bi se wonya akwan tie ho pempenso bi a I'm telling you say nyame wa hye ne ho animonyam. God has done something great at the Kese. I don't know there say your history bi sa what took place Ghana, but nyame adomo a enanwumre eho amanebo ni bi na yebetie. We are here to listen to just a brief or partial report about what took place in Ghana. Yekrom Ghana, the course so yet tunidin living with hope and transformation. Living with hope by mission-driven purpose. I don't know. Set Sabbath school sabri about God's mission, my mission. Ni ashisha to her years ago. Ben fie miensa fie nine. And so when say ye nyina ye ni abaso mission. Adwuma ye betimi aye, areas ye betimi aye. Nyame hu ye mobo no mo aye. Enumre ye nya akukudamfo ni bia omko Ghana. Koka nyamesem ni bi. Na omo ba be che yesu ye hu ye betie na yensu ye nya kwan ebusa. Na moma memfa kwan na men testing hwe. Menim se oma bedru de ye wo Dr. Kennedy DONKOR and na ye wo Dr. KOFI TWUMASI. Dr. Kennedy Mpacho so just give me a quick response. Mami nte wonka. Na abra wo unmute yourself.
Yeah, Mpacho me wahano.
Very good. Yemo kwaba. Sarah na me person we taking this opportunity to welcome our own Dr. KOFI TWUMASI. Dr. KOFI Mpacho just give me a little buzz.
Yes, Elder, I'm here and I'm honored to be on
I'm so glad to see you. I know other people will be joining us also, but from time to time, we will take the time to welcome them. Adolfo said, you know, and ne yejumadi ni nyina ye de koso Ghana ne kwanya nyame share no ho animonyam. So wonderful and blessings. Without wasting time, no, me blend the yebeka brofo yebeka tree saa yempanyimfo de saa na omde koye adwuma ba bi omo bia. Mamim ko Dr. KOFI TWUMASI so. When we talk or we ask about who is Dr. KOFI TWUMASI, who is he? Dr. KOFI, how do you describe yourself briefly?
Sure. Once again, I'm elated to be here this evening. Really describe myself in few words or less. Number one, progeny of an Adventist minister by professional lawyer. And one of my elements that I love to gestate within my spiritual life is engage in missions. And I've been engaging in missions with my own nonprofit for the past 10 years and been in countries such as Kenya, Malawi, and recently in Ghana as well. But nonprofit organization, MDP, I serve as the treasurer and also the public relations officer for the organization. And I was born in Berrien Springs, Michigan, raised in New York City, also had a sojourn in Uganda for about 6 years, and love doing God's work, and I love doing missions. So that's a little bit about myself.
Thank you so much. This is not the first time, but we assume that people will have opportunity to listen to that again. Yahuno Dr. KOFI TWUMASI or your software ba na yawo na sofufie na me adu Michigan yawo no wanya kwaya commission ewo Uganda. I feel so wakomala we need different places or a lawyer by profession na dwuma kese pa no afi oko Ghana koboa nyamsem ka na ni nyamsem ka ho and obekwan no aka ho asemache. By the way, KOFI, what's your hometown? You are a native of?
Oh, yes. Well, as Ghanaians would often say, is always from the maternal side. So,
right.
Asamai.
Asamai in Ashanti region. Right. I'm proud of you. Good, good, good. And yeah, I don't know, Mama Yana and Hokakra Nafi, Yonko Dr. Kennedy DONKOR. Dr. Mpacho, and you may Kwaba. na besa me take the opportunity busa say kase Dr. Robert Kennedy on why who is he?
Oh, Dr. Kennedy, yeah. So yeah, we met into the church from Woodbridge, Virginia, Woodbridge, Ghana, Virginia. I'm also a pharmacist by profession. Married to Deborah Oduro. No kids yet. I've also been with MDP I've been with them for about 10 years now, doing mission work. And like KOFI said, that is something I'm very much interested in and I like to engage in. I'm actually from Brunhafo. I was born in Badu. I don't know if you know where it's at, but yeah, that's where I was born. And I was brought here at the age of 13. So that's a little bit about me.
Yamoakwaba, Adofonom, Yasumwa or a pharmacist na yawono bedu bie. Oba hano usa, nyame adom, odina ye juma bibre. Nyame nhyira nyame aka one Deborah abom Virginia ena womo wo Woodbridge na womo ewo passion for nyame adwuma. Enye moma me na me ho kakra. This is how the program is going to be. Mebefa kwama bi na mebusebusa womo nsem kakra. Brofo ni twi na womo yia no niema ekoso Ghana de nyame yeye ene niema bi a womo nso ye bi ene de ompese yete ho asem kakra bi ene na nyame boa ye koye nim no ye benya kwan na afi yetie eno sia ye bema kwan ama mo amwo afidie su nyina nso monya kwan ya busa wo mo nsem bi said ye mote nsem no ni bibi a mo pese wo mo kire mo no you will have opportunity to ask your questions too na afi ye di bewie ya ya ma wo mo de wo mo summary anase buja ye abrain enti yense bre no mpese me busa Dr. Kennedy, you have been with mission-driven purpose for almost 10 years. What motivates you for mission? You have been to several places. Diana, you took upon yourself at the cost of work, at the cost of sacrifice. Na uye mission. Upese, ana nye mission edikaya wakuni. What's your motivation, your secret?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So during the beginning of my Christian journey, I was born in the church, but I wasn't always a Christian. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying.
We really do.
Yes.
Not deep in there. We understand.
Yeah. But the beginning of my Christian journey, the one thing that was impressed upon my heart was to go on missions. I don't know why, but it kept pushing me to go on missions. And as you know, the last command Jesus gave us was to go out and share the word. And that can be done locally or internationally. And now that I have the energy, I have the strength, I have the availability, I figured this is the best time to go because maybe a time will come where I don't have the opportunity. So I figured it's the best time to go. And as long as I have strength, as long as I have the time, or I can make the time, I will always go on a mission because I feel like that is my way of serving my Lord, is to go on missions. So internationally and locally, whenever I'm able, I go with the team.
Adofonom yasomwa o nyame nhyira o doctor nyame nhyira o papa say what's our passion no say ofi say this is the time enuanom yenimbre na abrantie ti say na ode no ho bo afore afo nyame adwuma eti nyame adwuma ase a de be mbie nka nyame nhyira o na o ma onye kese na onye nhyira ma afoforo nso said the okan no o si na ya wono to asapunum nenso na wonya hunu se sabre we kristoni but onya conviction no why say Paul our mantem o den hu nyina agba afore amewrade. God bless you, Dr. KOFI. Minanamra oswe What is your secret? What motivates you for missions?
Elder, that's a very cardinal query. I think for me it's threefold. Number one, I'm motivated for missions because I'm motivated by a vision of epistemic discipleship. And that might be florid words, but I want to break that down for your audience. I've always believed that discipleship is one of the most cardinal factors in one's Christian walk. It is one element to comprehend and be docile to Jesus, but it's also another element of fully walking in his ways, being obedient in his ways, and also engaging in the conduct of Christ. And with that said, I always want to ensure with what I just enumerated, that can be transplanted over to persons who are learning about Christianity for the first time. So I realized that at a very young age, when I was on the mission field with my father in Uganda, I saw that there are persons in this world that need to learn more about Christ in a much more sophisticated way. So that inevitably allowed me or enabled me to say to myself, well, when I engage in missions, I'm always going to engage in it from a place where I can always help people disciple their relationship with Christ. So number one is the vision of epistemic discipleship that motivates me. The fact that I can allow people to gain sophisticated spirituality. I can allow people to be creative with their spiritual lives. I can allow people to challenge their own spiritual lives. So that really is a process that I love engaging in. So it's really that epistemic discipleship process. Number two, another motivation as to why I engage in missions is because of cross-cultural boundaries. Oftentimes, we have a lens where we only see Christianity visualized within our own corridor. So if you're from the United States, you only see Christianity from that visceral lens. But I also wanted to be put in a position where I can learn how, remember, and this is good for those who are listening, Christianity is not by uniformity. Christianity, let me say that one more time. Christianity is not by uniformity. Christianity is by unity. So the reason why I engage in missions is because in different corridors or different quarters or in different fraternities, whether you're in Ghana, Nigeria, people worship God differently. And that has really motivated me because I go on these missions to learn how I could personally find new ways to exercise my imagination so that I can have a dynamic spiritual life. So I love engaging in missions because it is that element of going through cross-cultural boundaries, right? Learning different cultures, how they worship God, and also adding that to my own Christian life. So that's also another motivation as well. And then the third element as well, when we read scripture, right, when we look at Matthew 28, the Great Commission, right, the Great Commission is not a suggestion, it's a commission. I think oftentimes within Christianity, we are great with rhetoric. We are with, articulating, the gospel, articulating Christianity, but oftentimes we don't wed our rhetoric with actions. We don't wed articulation with execution. I want to ensure that I'm not just waxing lyrically about the Bible. I'm not just waxing poetically about scripture, but I can actually utilize what I've learned from the scriptures and actually engage in practical missions. I believe we must all engage in some sort of substantive deed, right? It's not just about reading your Sabbath school, but it's actually going out there and engaging in prison ministries. It's actually going out there and serving at a soup kitchen. It's actually going out there, sacrificing your time and engaging in missions. I believe the Christian journey has to be wedded with rhetoric and has to be wedded with deeds. And for those that may not understand that florid language, all I'm trying to say is it must be wedded with actions. So the reason why I am motivated to engage in missions, because I believe part of the Christian journey is engaging in action. And when I engage in missions, I'm subsequently engaging in action. So just to recap, 3, right? Number 1, a vision of epistemic discipleship, the opportunity to disciple persons into Christianity. Number 2, it is a vision of cross-cultural boundaries, the opportunity to traverse to different cultural corridors, learn how they worship Christ, and add that element to my own Christian life. And number 3, it is a vision of commission. I believe that as a Christian, you must wed rhetoric with actions.
Thank you so much, Dr. KOFI. Adofo Se utie de Dr. Kofi Ekatre no Dr. Kennedy nso amana bafompa o se niema miensa o vision se eso ye sempakani ma awurade eboa no mani sua niema bibre bra o commissions na onim se onyame it is the time that yes day Matthew 28 every year adwuma Sabbath school a ye sua no currently no the introduction or say quit talking and start doing something. It is time we have to do something action. Yemfa yehunyim enuanom de nyame dia maedi de abedre de se mission ana yeka mission na wunyanti ase na wunhu de nyame pese wo ye na wonfa hunwure mu de a ene na wo ya akachire sre awurade se omwaye ene moma yemko yenkomo ne yinwure mu pa yedamo ase we thank you for your support and your words for us. Just recently, Dr. Kofi Elbani Ebekasa said, Omwa yenshishe omo ko Ghana. Yeko Kenya misem 10 years pepe ena mrantie ni mabawa omo woha yefre womo mission driven purpose. MDV. Womo ko mia ko nyamedwuma 10 years ena nyame womo di si ho edru. Womo focus ne said they want to go to Ghana at the 10th anniversary or 10th year and do something that has never been done in Ghana. Say a pesi Kenya misem ewo Ghana nyina. Ya be ne den abefun fidie. Ya ko si tent kese ewo sunyane. Ankwase na ya Kenya misem a Hope TV Ghana e de beko asori bia owo equipment. Na afen so ba bia ye ni sa equipment no. Womo ebegira ho ama ya Kenya misem ya hodo so. Your goal was 10,000. Say nyame ebefa nipa be say 10,000 e do omaba. Sa dwumadie enye dwumaketwa. Dr. Kofi, let me come to you now. Composition of nipa mufri akoye no. How was it? Meaning said there were medical personnel, there were individual, there were pastors. Just tell me a little bit. And Dr. Kennedy will also take a portion of it. What was the composition?
I won't commit thievery on this answer from Kennedy, so I'll give two of the elements that made the composition or the character of the team. And let me also give some nuanced treatment to that as well. Each time when we cast out a wide net to recruit persons for our trip, number one, we want to recruit an intergenerational team. What do I mean by that? We do not discriminate with our organization. We want to ensure whether you're 80 years old, whether you're 40 years old, whether you're 20 years old, whether you're 16-year-old, that our organization allows your gifting to flourish. I'll say that one more time. We believe in a vision of intergenerational team building. This means that as an organization, we want to recruit persons from a wide spectrum, 80, 90, 100, even if you get to that age, or whether you're 20 or you're 15, we want to recruit an intergenerational audience. The reason is we want persons, whether you're a rookie, whether you're a veteran, we want persons to understand that the gifting that God has deposited into your life, no matter the age that you are currently situated in, you can utilize that gifting to save a life. So we believe in recruiting an intergenerational audience. So for this year's team, we had persons that were in their 60s. We had persons that were in their teen years. We had college students. We had young adults. So we had a wide mix or a multifarious mix of persons that joined the trip. Number two, when we also recruited for our trip this year, we also wanted to recruit an emphasis on young adults. And I'll allow Ken to talk about the professionals, but I'll end it at the young adults here, which is an extension of my first cardinal point. We also really have an emphasis on young adults too, though we don't discriminate, as I enumerated in my first bullet point. We also have a foci on young adults, and I'll tell you why. Oftentimes, young adults are at this intersection of their calling and their career. And at this intersection, oftentimes they are trying to make sense or trying to find the commonsensical element of their calling. What is God truly calling me to engage in this world as I have been planted in? And then persons are also wrestling with this malady. They're wrestling with their career. Persons in their young adult years have now started working at Wall Street, have started working at a dream job. But now they're looking for that intersection. How do I wed God's purpose for my life and my career purpose and utilize it to serve God? So we have this focus on young adults because we know that young adults have this schism in their minds. And we believe when you allow yourself to traverse on a mission trip, that number one, you may gain an existential understanding of your life, right? Soren Kierkegaard, the philosopher, enumerates very clearly that in life, we are wrestling with our own existential purpose. So we believe that on a missional voyage, that you have that opportunity to gain an understanding and discernment of your own existential purpose. Then we also believe in what we call the teleological pursuit. We believe that your purpose can be manifested through the medium of service. So we have a focus on young adults because they're wrestling with the intersection of a career and a calling. And we believe when you engage in cross-cultural missions, that can give you the discernment so that you can now live a life that God wants you to live. I'll end it with this. The world is not our home, but it's our calling. And we believe through the avenue, the medium, and the utility of missions that the Lord can give you that existential euphoria.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kofi. Adofonom, wakyerɛ yɛn ekua a wɔn kɔɛ ne sɛ deɛ wɔn te bi asiteɛ. Mpanyini wom, abɛɛfo, asukuufoɔ wom, collegefoɔ wom, young adultfoɔ wom, mmɔfra ne all set of individuals bi a wobɛtumi aka bi a ɛna wɔn de wɔn kɔɛ na ɛboa wɔn wɔ adwene ntiri a mmabunu no ehia sɛ yɛde yɛn ani si wɔn so na wɔn hunu deɛ nyame pɛ sɛ wɔn yɛ. If we say, yeah, no, imagine I am tanta, juma, any dear media form, so gift. Or say Dr. Kennedy bet to us. Dr. Kennedy, just take the baton about the composition and
yeah, so I will go more into the people that were able to make it this year. So we had one young lady who was a teacher. We have two who work in the lab. And then we have one, and then we have two students, and then we have two others from different diverse backgrounds. I don't quite remember exactly what they do, but like my brother was saying, it's very, very different backgrounds. We don't target a specific area, but as long as you are willing and you are able, you can come with us. Because once we get on the ground, we have different tasks that we all perform, and so everybody that comes out there will have something to do. So yeah, that was the makeup of our team for this year.
Do you need any form of training or just come as you are?
You come as you are. You go through my brother saying Dr. Kofi will train you very well what you need to do. And if you are chosen to be a part of the health team, we'll also take you through our training as well to get you ready for what you need to do.
So the call is open to anyone.
Yes.
No special experience, just like Isaiah said, whom shall I send and who will go for us? Here I am. So when you see the edge and you have the zeal and the willingness, make yourself available. And overall, it's a blessing.
Yes. Yes, it is.
It's a blessing indeed. Okay. Let's go back. We are now sailing down to Ghana. Mudru Ghana, no, na a whole team net to say preparation, no. Dr. Kofi, I know you and Dad went to explore a few months ago before the trip. So when you got there on December, probably first week of December, how was the setup? How was the preparation? A program that is covering the whole Ghana. How was it?
Right. Well, the as I enumerated during my last visit to this program, this was a process that we began in the second quarter of the year. So when we began this process in the second quarter of the year, we had to ensure that we'll lay down the blueprint for victory. All right. At the end of the day, victory is a corollary of the blueprint that you lay down, right? The nice house that you see on your street is based on a blueprint that was well scripted, that was well put together, that was well drawn out, that was well visualized. So we began in the second quarter of the year. And then, of course, because be a behemoth of a evangelistic event, this also required us to traverse to Ghana as well, to also meet with the stakeholders. And who are the stakeholders in this context? The presidents, the personal ministry directors. So we're working at all tiers. As we know, in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, specifically in the country, you have a level of tiers. You have the union, you have the conferences, you have the district churches. So we worked in those tiers. So we met with the union PM directors. We met with the conference presidents, which were about 12 of them in each union. As you know, Ghana is dichotomized into two unions. You have the Southern Ghana Union, the Northern Ghana Union. Matter of fact, just recently, I believe in the council meeting, now is even 4 unions that they have. But at the time that we went, it was 2 unions, Southern and Northern Ghana Union. So we seeded our evangelistic efforts by meeting with the stakeholders. And then based on, I don't know if I enumerated here or I did that on Let's Pray on another show I was on, we also took the deliberate intention, as Ken, myself, Kwajo, we're far versed in evangelism. We also set up what we call a quota system. And I'm giving this theoretical application because oftentimes persons believe you simply just engage in the act of and fruits will be yielded. But that's not always the case here. Evangelism requires precision. Evangelism requires exegesis. Evangelism requires excavating the grounds where you're going to be engaging in theological missions. So we also set up a tiers system or a quota-based system. This was going to allow us to gain participation and also to gain the harvest as well. So mixing all of that in a stew, the preparation was laid. But as you know, I think Barack Obama once said this, and I know I'm being a little bit political this evening, but I believe this illustration can be juxtaposed with what I'm going to enumerate here. Barack Obama once made a speech called A More Perfect Union. And the whole, gist of the speech was, though the United States is not perfect, we're going to strive toward perfection. The same element with this evangelistic campaign. I'll call it a more perfect evangelistic campaign. Though it wasn't a perfect evangelistic campaign, though the preparation wasn't perfect, we strive to ensure that there will be perfection with our execution of the evangelistic campaign. So in regards to the preparation was not how we wanted it, but it wasn't haphazard. They did engage in preparation. So of course, churches all across the country were promoting this to their church members, to their community residents. We're also engaging in the non-analog forms of social media to also promote the campaign. The churches also as well purchased equipment. So this was a satellite broadcast, purchased equipment so that they can stream the programs within their churches. And I just want to give your context or give your audience some nuanced treatment. So what was happening was that though we were streaming on Hope TV, the broadcast was going to be displayed and exhibited in every church. So no matter whether you're in Ashtown, no matter whether you're in the northern region, in the southern region, you would have a screen within your church's edifice and you'll be watching the broadcast. And then as the preacher makes the appeals, there'll be an on-site coordinator. And also if it was a headquarters church, there would also be a lay team as well that would also make an appeal and also make that call for persons to engage in baptism. So within the preparation, churches, some churches had coordinators, some churches followed all the instructions. I also put together about, I think, nearly over 200-page guide for the evangelistic campaign. So, of course, we expended a lot of energy, and we also have a singular modus operandi. So we also had that instilled into the document as well. So from our side, full preparation, but of course, there was a lot of creative elements. There was also a lot of novel elements. So not all of that was captured as we wanted it, but in terms of preparation, as I give a summation here, it wasn't perfect, but we strived toward perfection, and we're able to get an outcome that we're not dissatisfied with, but God bless the outcome of the program.
Thank you, Dr. Kofi. Adofonom sewutie die Kofi we segu honi nyina beye se busumi nsia na omode eniema gu akwam no se Barack Obama si ade bia wo pese wo yi ni yie no wo ye nhihye pa e do beko to wo de nhihye pa egu akwam mu sede Ghana asori mu nhihye etie no ye nim ya trap ye union ye conferences ye district ye local churches and members we de ye defa abefo say equipment baby omoto equipment ni bibia no through Hope Channel and Hope TV Ghana won betimi akasa nyamsem no nti nyamsem kasron kokra. Can I say, is it the first time or is similar to us 2000 or this was quite different altogether?
No, it's very similar, very similar. And just to also just poke the question that you just baked over to me, it's very similar. Acts 2000, you also have Breath of Light that also did similar campaigns as well. So similar in those vein where you had a preacher and satellite sites all across the country.
Okay. Said yeah, McFinley, Bread of Life, any sa nyamsem kano. Nyamsem ka ye kan baby, nanso ye de hita baby a. Ye be call ye nim, ye wo adwini bi na ye nim se sa na Yesu ye se odi ayaresa ene nkyerɛkyerɛ ene ye adwuma. Nti omo kɔ no na medical personnel ewomu te se womo a ye nam ayaresa kwan so ekoye. Dr. Kennedy boye kakra Sena mo kode ayaresa eko kanyamesem mu team no na ye hefo na sena musi eye modwuma because there be a metesi yesi no mienu from 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock medical screening. Can you tell us a little bit about the work that took place?
Yeah, so we partnered with a local health team. There was an SDA clinic in that area. So we partnered with a local health team that was led by Dr. Edwin Mensah. So like we mentioned, every afternoon from 2 to 4, we will go to the main site, which was Penkwase. I think we did the main site for 3 days, and then we had 2 other sites that we also did for the other 2 days. So we were set up from 2 to 4 p.m. and we had it organized in such a way that you go through the process. So when you first come in, so first let me talk about the components of the team. So we had people who were doing the screening. We had people doing the registration. And then after you're done, we had people doing malaria testing and hepatitis B testing. And then we had an optometrist doing eye exams and was giving out eyeglasses. And then we had, I believe it's a dental hygienist, but we didn't have any equipment, unfortunately, no dental equipment. So he did consultation and he passed out toothpaste and toothbrush. And then finally, we had, I believe, a nurse practitioner and a PA who will also, after you go through the whole process, they will look at your numbers and give you consultation, give you a prescription, refer you. We had some medication that they can also give you. And so when you come in, you go and you get registered, and then you come through, you get your blood sugar checked, you get your blood pressure checked, and then you go to the malaria testing, and the hepatitis B testing as well. And then from there, you go see the eye doctor. And then from there, you see, if you need, you see the dental hygienist. And then from there, you see the PA or the MP, and then we go from there. So we did this every single day. We started on Sunday, we finished on Thursday from 2 to 4 p.m. And overall, we saw more than 600 people. But we even had to cut it short because our days and our time was limited. But we did encourage the local church and the conference to engage in these activities, even if they can do it once every 6 months, or if they don't have the ability, they can even do it once a year. because it's a great form of evangelism, because the whole community came out. And when they come out, we also tell them about the program as well, so they can tune in later on. And then the evening, I don't know if you watched it, but in the evening, we also have the health talk. And the health talk is very broad. It's more than just your typical diet and exercise. We try to take a holistic view of the person and how to holistically be healthy. So we do that talk in the evening, and people that paid attention and watched, you can see that we give a gift after each talk. And the gift that we gave was in correspondence with the topic of the night. So we talked about diet, and we gave out food. We talked about trust. We gave out a Bible. We talked about rest. We gave out a mattress. We talked about environment. We gave out a standing fan. Something that corresponds with the topic at hand. So that was the health program in a nutshell.
Dr. Kennedy, nyame nhyira mo. Sɛ mode biribi asi kwa mu na mo encourage Ghana for sɛ wɔn ntoa so. Nti wohwɛ a nipa no na wɔn ba in numbers. Na ɛsɛ mo wɔn twa so. Anyɛ saa, if you say ɛyɛ free, no money, no nothing. Nti wɔn di mirika na ɛba bububububububu. Na wɔn nso pɛ bi, wɔn ba nso a wɔn ani gye deɛ mo de ma wɔn no. They were very happy, papa. And now, if you say, meaning say, nipa no more check that dia, but I can see say, a blessing my nipa be free. Very good. And you ever call Dr. KOFI. So I know, say, alongside Ayeko Kenya Misemono, you also added up training, empowerment. Dr. KOFI, just chip in a little bit before we go to the evangelistic campaign. How was the training? What's up? So sort of training and a local people, church people, any volunteers?
Yes, so we believe in the principle of leadership, or the precept of leadership. We don't believe in managers, we believe in leaders, right? The world needs better leaders. When we have transformed leaders, we have transformed societies. Let me say that one more time. It was just that good. Transformed societies requires transformed leaders. There's a dichotomy that nestles and reposes between managers and leaders. Managers simply maintain, leaders expand. Oh, that was good. Let me say that one more time. Managers maintain, leaders expand. In our MDP School of Leadership, the goal is to engage in a pedagogy where we are educating persons to become leaders within their communities, not managers. We want KOFI to expand Accra. We want him to expand the Christian presence in Accra. We don't want him just to maintain and be mundane and to be subpar and to be average and to mediocre. We want them to be leaders. Leaders expand. Leaders take risk. Leaders are driven. Leaders are dreamers. Leaders are visionaries. Leaders are persons of ambition. So with our MDP School of Leadership, the goal is that we train persons on how to, number one, become a leader, right? How to, number one, let me say this, if you want to lead your way, if you want to get to the next level, you need to lead your way to the next level. So with our leadership school, we ensure that with the pedagogy and the epistemic value that we parlay and transmit to them, number one, they can become leaders, effective leaders. Number two, we also engage in how they can become effective leaders so that they can effectively witness toward those in the community. So we're teaching them principles as to how to engage with persons of a different faith persuasion, whether you're from an Islamic background, whether you're from a Pentecostal background, whether you're from an atheist background, whether you're of a charismatic church background. We are teaching persons how to effectively lead your way to engage in efficacious Christian witnessing. So that's also an element that we also teach them as well. And then aside from the spiritual aspects, right, I believe Martin Luther King once elocuted that it's not enough to just meet one's spiritual desires and needs. You must also meet the material needs and desires, right? I believe everybody should read MLK's writings on that, right? Where do you go from here? Chaos or community, a fantastic treatise. And what King inevitably said in that book is that we must meet both the spiritual element and the material element. So within our leadership training, though we give them the spiritual education, how to effectively witness, how to effectively prepare yourself spiritually to also engage in the act of missions, we also engage with them on practical elements such as stewarding your money. We also engage with them in stewarding your mental health. We also give them practical elements as to how you can take care of your health. So oftentimes in our leadership school, there's a stew of all different kinds of elements, both the spiritual elements and the material elements as well. So the training, number one, we were training, and I'll just give you the logistics of the training. We were training persons in the main venue. So the main venue in Sunyani, we were training persons there. So we had a 50-member team that we were training, and they were being trained to go out into the area of Penkwasi and win souls for Christ. Then we were also training persons outside of Penkwasi. So because this was a nationwide campaign, we were in headquarters churches. There were about maybe 100 or so headquarters churches that were dedicated to have a lay team. What they had to do was that every single morning from 9 to 12 o'clock, which was the time for the training, they would tune into the satellite broadcast, which was being shown on television, on Hope TV, and also on YouTube as well, whichever medium of your choice that works for you, whether it's from the legacy media or from the non-analog media. Persons would have to tune in and gain the pedagogical instruction so that they can effectively utilize our modus operandi. Mission, driven, purpose, we have our own modus operandi. We believe in what we call swift action evangelism, where it's a 1 minute or less campaign. You're only to see a person in less than 1 minute. We also believe in a high ratio, right? You're to see a high number of people within a 2-day span. And then you are to inevitably learn the composition of those that you effectively witnessed, and now start doing what we call securing them as souls. So with the training, we're training persons outside of Penkwasi, which was about a couple hundreds or so, and it was from 9 to 12. And then after the theoretical training in the afternoon, they'll engage in the application of the theory that they learned in the morning time, which was going out into they have a quota that they have to work with. So usually the first 2 days, I have to see about 100 names on your sheet so that we can march toward our goal. So that's pretty much our training session. The instructors, since this year we're doing a TV broadcast, and we had a lot more on the personnel side. Those that were mainly doing the training was myself and Pastor Kojo Chumisi. And we would do the trainings in the morning time. And then also we had some of our team members that were also joined. We had one that shared elements about mental health and how to steward your own personal life and cognitive health as well. And we also had translators that worked with us to also parlay the information. So that was pretty much our training session that we did in the morning time. And that's what we call our leadership school.
Yada wase Dr. Kofi Twumasi for the Odiamai. I don't know the Okani na say we wiase a dedi pefe se bebia society a epese enyinya nkoso no esese enye nhunumu enye nipa etete wo mo wo ma mfa nyamesem kan ko ane koye wo mu di training enye asorefo nko training obi kura so onye nyame ni na wo ye society member wo mu di sa training ni ma wo mo so ye Pentecostal so ye Muslim eninti eboa nipa ne bebre nyamesem kan no wo mu di eno so efa ho se wo mu di ye adwuma from 9 to 12 and sana 2 to 4 health no so aba yeda mo ase nyame nhira mo said you okan ye no nyame afa won so ede asempa ene etuhu ache ama nipa bebre less enede ye kase ye komu bebra anuanom benim se ebre emma ye kwan nti me fa kwamai ada otabo radio station ene Yonkodoradio radio station say Omabeboye Chidom. Afe na wa joy ya. Enyumre ye ne Dr. Kofi Twumasi ene awoye lawyer. Na omu call Ghana koye nyamsemka ene Dr. Robert Donko. No nso oye pharmacist. Nyamedi omu koye edwuma kese. Ye nyamura nyamsemka numpo. But ye bre no ya ye bre. Sese ye mama omu aka. Dr. Donko, with the training, with the community health care giving, and the evening health talk. How would you say about this evangelistic crusade? Say, Nyamianim Nukreni through Hope TV. Ekoka nipa bibriye. One more respondo ye. Just tell us a little bit about the evangelistic crusade, so far as the health team is concerned.
Okay, so like I mentioned before, because like we said, all the services that were provided free of charge. The community came out, and they came out in their numbers to a point where we have to, sometimes cut it short. And sometimes what we had to do was the team that were part of the MDP team that had an evening program, we would leave at like 4, but then the local health team would stay to like 6 to make sure that the rest of the community has been served. So the people came out in their numbers, and they were very happy with the program. Some unfortunately haven't seen or gotten a checkup in years. Some is just a little talk because they are on medication, but they stopped taking it. So you have to like re-advise them and talk to them. That is something they need to pay attention to. Some you need to advise to go see a doctor. So it was a lot of things that we did that they really enjoyed and loved. And like we said, we always told them to also pay attention to the evening program, because after all, the most important part of the work is the gospel. So we always made sure that we tell them about that as well, to tune in to the evening program. And like I mentioned earlier, it's a way to definitely get people out there and also bring their attention to the program that's going on at large.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kennedy. Yedamwasi. She said, "Yenko nyamsem kan kura na yeni evangelist and so beshia." But overall, no, Dr. Kofi, what numbers do we have of the baptism or some of the outcome of the Ghana program to date?
Yeah, currently we have 2,130 souls.
Praise the Lord. Can you say that again? Just take it slowly.
Yes, we have 2,130 souls as of date.
Has it ever occurred before in Ghana history?
Sure. I mean, in Ghana, you've had sweeping numbers. You have had, 10,000, 3,000, 5,000. Under this new format, they have also had similar numbers, I believe, in the 2000s and maybe in the 3000s as well. So under this new format, we are right in the ballpark of the baptismal goal.
But I be said it will be an ongoing. Be now so be respond later on. Yeah, the radiasi. We can't dwell much more on so many things. Inti se afena waba abe join ya and you know yamsem ka so Ghana recently a few days ago no and ni Dr. Kennedy ni Dr. Kofi TWUMASI komo sabre me pese me de manu sie na me ma kwan ma mo amutie se wo YouTube so and now any form of media Yonkodo anase otabwa tapu question no and I send the breme se wo me number na ye musama wo sonso a ye ba ma mo busa de mesre ni se baby a wo ka selfie bia just say your name, brief question, and they will take time to answer where we are. Nyame adom se ya ye guso a ye bu nkonta no wo mo yame aboa ma yabo nipa 2,180 according to figures na it keep on changing. Inti sabre men sabre no memma yenia Daniel Frimpong Ando what the question no aba na wait me there to chat no mun so amai ti mayenhu ba bia wo free na fa question no bra me da se bebre
pacho me kase free Worcester
Daniel manon kwai name
yeah me da se doctor nyamishra mo pa wo adwuma so mo kudi Ghana. My question is yes, so you DB of Volta the spillage, Volta region, I mean, can you say? Akusumo Dam spillage in a course. Now, yeah, you want to palm, could be point to be a here and what because you want if you need I say, Omuma, a school, nay, a whole lot. Kinty, me per se, ebia, catch you didn't come over. You know, my first point into dog, ebia later, what to make. Now, second one is a Dr. Kofi, with my personal question, do you speak tree?
No. No.
Because many you now I don't know, ebia, oh, yeah, my friend on Facebook, make a meaning, yeah, I said, oh, my friend, there be the monitor more activities. But
All right.
I have a reason. I have a reason for that. Me ba room hand on chair, papa. Who say on crown? I say, ye native language, you know, ye manahira. But me expect power sa area. No, my champion is having a say, come to me, one crown war a hand. But my ya, and penny to me so much, papa. I just want to, you know, Sadi way na me 1% come me did become way, you know, in a way, no, you did a one crown and walk because one area be it me a building here, which me I prepare crown very well. That woman like with us.
Thank you so much, Brother Frimpong, for your mission at Volta, OT, and other places. Ne, to say the need no. Motivation to help, mission-driven purpose is open to all. Na Mijidi say, one of the integral part. I know Abigail is helping. Sister Asofumami Abigail Osei is helping with the language, trying to get people on board. But it make a tree no baby a papa panti momfere ho momayemfa emura yenyamisum program no. Meda wase Brother Dan for a question ne motivation any information so a odi amaye. Pamcho question time ni se obi wo question Kofi be yi wa no e wo Facebook mu ni twi ni said ye sitie no tiapo na uguso kane kakra pamcho amanebo a yenuanam de bre yi se wo question bi pese wo busa wanyamsem ka ene ayaresa ene mpomudin ne akyerɛkyerɛ ye de call Ghana beyese na wotwe mienu edadu ena omokoye meeting no nipa 2000 and over ena a respondo enye no nko yama nipa bebre enya ayaresa nipa bebre ehunu awurade nipa bebre nso egu so etu ho anamo wo mo a enesen na wase mbisa nesen meda wase okay pamcho mama ko chat no mu se obi di bibia atumu a you can help me too brothers okay all right Kofi and Dr. Kennedy, help me if there's any question in the chat. And ye say, bra ye busa question ne mwano. Metwa swama womwaka. Momo, Dr. Kennedy, tell us a little bit about. I know Dr. Evangelist TWUMASI was always calling on you on the stage, calling on you. Were you frightened, or is this your first time being exposed to such an audience personally?
No, like Kofi mentioned earlier, we've been doing this for a while. So, you know, sometimes with such an audience, you need to demonstrate what you are trying to the message you're trying to get across. And so when I go up, I do what I can to help, because like I said, what's important is that they get the message that is being preached. So yeah, I was always ready for him to call on me to go up. So I'm always prepared. Sometimes he calls on me, sometimes he doesn't. But whenever he does call on me, I was ready to go up.
Thank you so much. How was the baptism being done, Dr. Kofi, especially on site like Pemkwase and the other places. Can you tell us a little bit about, was it daily baptism or there were certain days? And how do the people respond? If they respond and they want to be baptized? Now, Moyen is saying.
Yeah, so I have to give the theoretical element just because I want persons to understand, evangelism is not a haphazard pursuit. So in terms of the baptisms, one of the schemes that we place together, and, between myself, Kajo, Ken, and Mina and Eva, we just have vast experience. And I've been doing this since the age of 6. And just read multiple books and, of course, have studied evangelism a long time, and also have had professors as well that have also been able to enhance my own epistemic value toward evangelism. Given that context, one of the elements that we wanted to engineer for this campaign, which is not normalcy in the Adventist faith persuasion in Ghana, was number one, doing daily baptisms. Now, of course, one may hear that and say, well, that's not truly novel. Well, I understand that, but it is novel in certain aspects. So just listen closely here. It's novel in the certain aspect that, number one, and unlike here in the United States, if you compare and contrast in the United States, churches are a lot more modernized in terms of, number one, they have a baptismal pool. Most churches in that ecology often don't have a baptismal pool. Matter of fact, they don't have the same edifice that you would find here in the United States. So daily baptisms is a bit novel because churches don't have a baptistry in those in their edifices. Number two, you're also facing the quagmire of persons also don't believe that they should be baptized in a baptistry pool, or some were even, saying it in just a swimming pool. Some persons don't believe that. They need to be in a running stream, in running water, in a running stream. It needs to be emulated. It needs to be a paradigm of how Jesus got baptized himself. So you also have that challenge as well. But truly, the modus operandi, or the posture, as Dr. Ken can even further elaborate on this, was we wanted to do daily baptisms, because if you don't do daily baptisms, you lose the souls, right? You lose the souls in terms of the next day, there's no guarantee they're going to be coming back. I've had that, as Dr. Ken has alluded to several times, though the general public, this was the first time our campaigns was televised on TV, and of course was in a wide variety of markets. We have been engaging in this locally for as many years as possible. And what we just learned from the past is that oftentimes you make an appeal on a Monday, they don't show up on a Tuesday. So we said to ourselves, we're going to maximize our baptisms by doing daily baptisms. So we engaged in daily baptisms. This was the plan for the whole country, but of course some places in some quarters in Ghana that did not have a baptistry, they were encouraged to go out to a river the next day, which was obviously a cushion that we had to engage with our modus operandi. But they had to go to a river the next day and also engage in baptism. But specifically at the main site for this evangelistic campaign, a pool was constructed. As you can see, Penkwase, and that's why, talking about donations that we're about to ask for this evening, the whole stage that you saw there was completely remodeled by us. We invested money and put it with Abokim. We invested money and put it into that stage. So there was a baptistry pool constructed for the evangelistic campaign. So if you see the pictorials from the campaign, you see that persons were baptizing every day. So on the first night, when I took over for Pastor Kojo, that night I made an appeal. And when I made an appeal, 2 persons came forward and they got baptized. This is also another nuance to add as well. We were encouraging daily baptisms and we were encouraging daily appeals. So we were doing appeals from the first day, simply because with our model of evangelism, we believe that we can still maximize our efforts even in a truncated amount of days. So daily baptisms were done, daily appeals were done. Persons were baptized immediately after the message was over. And for sites where they did not have a baptistry pool, they would engage in baptism in the next day at a river. As we know, in the nighttime, it is not, of course, you wouldn't want to steward your baptism during the nighttime simply because you may have animals that might be nesting within the rivers.
Yada Kofi ase said the watching mono, Nitia Moan said the piano mubasu. na wɔn constructor baptismal pool sɛdeɛ yɛbɛtumi abɔ su anwummerɛ biara baabi a wɔn ni asubɔ facility sɛ aha no wɔn yɛ nhyehyɛ ma yɛde wɔn kɔ nsuo mu wɔ baabi nti ɔtoma no ne sɛ nipa no te asɛm no ne yɛka kyerɛ wɔn a anuanom akwama wɔ hɔ nko ade a yɛmmie ɔsoro kwan ma wɔn na wɔn mfa wɔn ho ma nipa a ɛyɛ 2000 and over no anuanom nyame de ne nsa ato wɔn so afrɛ deɛ aka ne sɛ yɛbɛka wɔn mpaebɔ mu while we are almost bringing our program to an end sese yɛyi a yɛakɔ akɔka nyamesɛm Ghana nyinaa with this structure na yɛakɔyɛ health screening yɛnya ɔkwama abiebie kwan no what are some of the needs that you see that we may have to talk about Dr. Kennedy may ba ho sese ya baabi a mokɔyɛ nyamedwuma ne any response na aba no nneɛma bɛn na ɛyɛ ahiade a wopɛ sɛ woka ho asɛm kyerɛ yɛn right now just briefly menim sɛ ne nyinaa no ebi sɛ yɛanya evangelists no koraa yɛanya volunteers no ne wɔn nneɛma a mokyekyɛeɛ what would you tell us about some of the needs a sisi a ɛyɛ challenges a ɛwɔ nipa a nyame afrɛ wɔn ana adwuma a mokɔyɛ yɛn what would you say?
Okay, so I'll let my brother Kofi touch on other aspects. I will focus mostly on the health.
Good.
And because we did a health fair, you always run into people who need help that is beyond the help that can be provided maybe by the community. So we have to step in sometimes to help out. So right now there's a young lady that be having some heart palpitations that need help. So we are working on with the team down back in Ghana to try to get her the help that she needs. And if you watch the program, there was a woman that also got baptized who was a cripple. We are also working on maybe getting her like a wheelchair, something to help her move around. And once again, whenever we go on a mission trip and we do our health fair, we leave the equipment, we donate the rest of the equipment to the local people, so they can continue to use them, which means we have to come back and replenish for our next trip. So these are all some of the things that are needed. So whenever we are out there promoting and raising funds, these are some of the this is where some of the money goes.
So be specific. What are some of the needs that we will need, or at least Kofi will hit a little bit? Saying your contributors on bit me a boy me equipment near the Akoya with different site a beboa. You hear blood pressure monitor, you hear sugar, the malaria, you hear the Dr. Kennedy to Asuka Grants and the Chema Madoko Kufia Bem.
Okay, so yeah, like okay, we need some blood pressure machines, blood glucose machines with the test strips. Like I mentioned, we need a wheelchair. We've also been trying to get some A1C machines. I don't know, because the A1C, if there's any health professionals on the line, is a better indicator of a person's blood sugar than the blood glucose testing, because it's a random test and doing it one time can't really give you a lot of information. But the A1C is a period of 3 months. It just costs a little bit more. So if we have any donors, we'll definitely take that. And then sometimes depending on where we're going, some of the needs can change. But these two needs are definitely always stay constant. And then I also some cholesterol testing machines as well. If anybody has any, we'll take those as well. And we always take money. Money always also helps, because we can always buy stuff on the ground as the need comes. So those are some of the things that we need right now in terms of the health department.
Yeah, that was it. Meaning say account be say opeso boa sanya mi juma Niema edi call yina boa health ye jana Ghana ye krum no nye duduani ye de bae. Meaning say almost so bet to us. and Yema Bibri so. Dr. Kofi, can you also take us a little bit about just while we are trying to wrap our program very soon before you give your summary?
Yeah, so some of the needs, I'll just be really quick. It's a litany of them, but some of the immediate needs that are needed. Number one, churches need projectors. You know, with this satellite campaign, we realized that most simply didn't have the projectors to stream the program. So they need projectors. They also need TV screens, you know, to also stream these programs. These national campaigns is the new model for evangelism, especially in Africa. You know, what we just did here in Ghana, we're going to be doing in other countries as well. So persons need the equipment to stream the program. So from projectors to TVs, projector screens, to laptops, to, you know, microphones, to audiovisual equipment, all those elements are needed. So that's on the technology side. Then number two, also with the new souls that are being discipled through, we need caretakers for these new souls. As we know, in Ghana, it's different from here. Usually a pastor is to one church, right? So 1-to-1 is proportional, 1-to-1. But in Ghana, it's not like that. You have one pastor who could be a pastor for 25 churches. That's what we call a district. So with these new souls, oftentimes, you know, there's not a lot of personnel that can attend to these new souls. So we also need funding for the hiring of caretakers that can take care of these new souls all across the country, so that, you know, donation that you can furnish can go to these caretakers as well, so they can take care of these new souls coming in. Then we also need Bibles. We need Bibles for these new souls. A lot of these new souls are not equipped with a stewarded resource for them to also grow in their own spiritual odyssey. So we also need Bibles as well. Bibles, we need hymnals. All these elements are needed. Then, of course, the larger aspect as well is churches. We also need church buildings. We planted a church in Sunyani area. I was doing, you know, most in the general public or public domain don't know this, but after I was always done during the empowerment, I would have to go 10 minutes to Amazing Grace, and I was doing a evangelistic campaign, simply preaching. So I was actually doing double duties every single evening. So we're able to set up a church plant, but now they're eventually going to be asking for a church. They're going to be asking for chairs. They're going to be asking for a podium. So also we need funding for that element as well, so that these new souls can stay within the church as well. As you know, a lot of these charismatic churches have attractive edifices, right? Winsome edifices. They commit thievery from those new souls. So we need also church buildings as well. And then we also need, aside from that, we also need funding for the conferences. Oftentimes conferences just don't have enough funding for churches to also continuously do more evangelism. So if money can also be furnished so that we can give it to conferences so that they can also continue evangelism and also engage in revivals for these new souls. I could go a lot more, but I'll rest it there.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, doctors. Thank you for your selfless dedication for God's mission. Yeda mwasi wo diamodia mai enuanom ene adofonom wonem be ya adwene pa se onyame a onimade nyina na opese oma obia tene do ene ne nkwaje ho asembre ati sei mabunu mrante ne mabawa sacrifice their time ene wo resources ene wo passion for missions ye kwa nyame dwuma adofonom moma yemfa ye lunch money nibi moma yemfa ye day payment no portions nibi say yenso yemfa nko support say ye nyame anim nukuri ni ye de ayaresa ene enyamsem ka ye de asori dan ene asofo a ye hia se wo nso ekosresra nipa wo maba asori mu say the Dr. Kofi kan no Bible behia hymns behia baby okra nkonya wo betena so no ebehia bi na conferences ni hia so wo support wo esese ye bomode anya caretakers wo mo ebehwe wo so ni wo sua de TV projector screening na afin so emfidi a ye de hwe wo mo wenum nyina ye niema bi a ye meye appeal for fund but the ye kan say se wutie program yi wo Otabo TV ana wutie program yi e wo Yonkodoradio ana wo baso betie bia enuanom moma yemfa de ye wo no emmoa nyamedwuma na nyame be hyirae ɛnam wodi akakra wo bɛyɛ no so no nyame nam so bɛma obi so ate sabre yɛde yɛn dwumadie no ɛbɛbɛ awieyɛ moma me ma last chance so obi wɔ question bi a akwama ma me ma 1 or 2 minutes bi na afi ɔde aba na mama mpanyimfo yi de wɔn last word ama yɛn abra yɛbɛbɔ mpaeɛ de adwuma a wɔn kɔyɛɛyɛ ahyɛ awurade nsa aba afiri mu ne wɔn a yɛbɛbɛ akyire nyinaa no nyame mfa ne nsa ntoto wɔn so na wɔn nso mɛyɛ abrane ahema ne nhemfo sɛdeɛ nyame de ne nsa atoto yɛ so na yɛtie nyame asɛm na saa bere yi a yɛhunu sɛ nyame yesu trɛ ne mission no mu ɛkɔ territory kora yɛnsusu sɛ ɔde nyame n'asɛm no ɛbɛkorɔ no ti sɛ obi wɔ asɛmbisa etwa to a ma yɛkɔm for just few minutes that was okay a brain inti ɛneɛ Dr. Kennedy, just before we bring the program to a close, what appeal would you give to all of us as parents, as grandfathers and mothers, as young people, as teenagers, as church elders, as pastor, for this Living with Hope ministry? Any wow personal experience, what will be your closing word or take home medically and physically?
All right. So one thing I would say is like, for me, my church has decided each year, as of right now, that they will sponsor one person from my church to go. So my church sponsors me. So I'm making an appeal to the next churches. Even if each church sponsors one person to come on this mission, it will help a whole lot. And like KOFI was mentioned earlier, this is a way to also teach our young ones and the young adults what service looks like, selfless service looks like. And so that would be my appeal to us, to the local NAGSA churches and to NAGSA in general, to invest in our young adults by helping them come on these missions, just like how my church invested in me to go on these missions. Thank you.
God bless you. God bless you. This is an open door. Dr. KOFI, just coming back to you, what will be your last word for us?
Sure. I'm encouraging persons out there this evening to donate to our organization. Our organization is a grassroots movement, it's a grassroots organization, which means that this was simply an organization constructed by ordinary church members, church goers, parishioners that came together to form a coalition in solidarity to give back to the global village that we live in. So all I'm encouraging everyone, I've been on this broadcast a myriad of times. So I'm not even going to wax lyrical about our organization and, how one should engage in mission. But all I'm asking this evening that if you can donate to our organization, we invested a lot, the setup that you saw all on Hope TV, that was all investment. The late teams all across the country, this was a major investment. So I'm asking those this evening, if you'd like to donate, I'm putting this in the chat box right now. And all I'm asking is simply donate to our organization. So if you'd like to donate, you can donate through Cash App. Our Cash App is ASN, $ASN MDP. If you also like to donate through PayPal, you can do that at info@missiondrivenpurpose.com. If you also want to do a bank transfer, you can also do that as well. We can send you our information. I'm also going to put my telephone number in the chat, and you can also get in contact with me. So those are some options there. I put it there in the chat. So Cash App, ASN MDP, PayPal, info@missiondrivenpurpose.com, telephone 347-791-1406. If you have another way that you also want to give the donation as well. So let me say that one more time, and let me say it slowly for everybody so everybody can catch it. So if you want to donate via Cash App, that is $ASN MDP. If you also want to do it through PayPal, you just go through info@missiondriveninfo@ missiondrivenpurpose.com. And then if those options do not work for you, but you want to donate in another way, maybe you want to send a check, you want to do a bank transfer, or there's another medium, or you want us to send you a personal link, we can also do that as well. Simply text me or call me at 347-791-1406. I'll repeat that one more time. 347-791-1406. You can also text and call me on that number, and we will also work with you for the best donation avenue. So that's pretty much my words there, and steadily keep praying for our organization, but we need your donation. So, if we could get 5,000 this evening, that is our goal. If we get 5,000 this evening, I see there's about 20 people here. So let me even relax the goal. If we can get 20 of you to donate $100 this evening, that is $2,000. So from iPhone to Joyce to Lily to Mama Dufie, Mama Eunice, the Oduros family, Rebecca Boatin, Rosina, Teresa, Mary. There's about 20 people here, and some on the YouTube. If you want to donate this evening, Cash App, $ASNMDP, PayPal, info@missiondrivenpurpose.com. Number, if you want to call me and have another way you want to donate, we can work with you. 347-791-1406. I put it in the chat, and I'll also send it to Elder Oting so that he can also forward it to the group chat as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Penny for Ahana, a brebe my quite ama and you may ye day your program no abc in try fa kwamai e de ada Otabo radio ministry asi any Yonkodoradio radio so almost better yechi senyumre upese utie program na megidi se o YouTube muma yem fan kwa dwinidwim muma yensre awurade na omwaye na mabunu yi a wo aso awurade adwuma mu na yede ho abọ afori a ye nyame dwuma no nyame emwa yemu bibiri ne yonkoka omo okan ose adwuma no so apafo no sa yenso ye kakra bi a ye kakra bi ifri 20 to 50 to 100 to the beka yakuma bia no nuanom mama brace mu ye respond to these needs na akra o ma respond no nyame emfa won so enhye ne ho enmonyam sabre ye bebom pae ne ade awurade ase ye bebom pae na afi yada dwumadi a onyame fa ne nkoa ne mfena so de apomudene de nkyerɛkyerɛ ekohye ne ho enmonyam ewo Ghana ye bebom pae de akra o ma respondo ama osoro ani agye wo mo betintim ewo awurade mu ye bom pae se adwuma yi ntoaso nyame mfrɛfrɛ ne ma bebree na afi yintimi nye ne kese akese mesre nipa mienu na wo mu nyina gyina ye nam na afi wo ma bom pae ama ye wia sampai boy mama asopanyi opani Derek wo so a na mehwehwɛ Pastor Bexon menim sɛ wabaso de a kama me na hyira so amaye sense wa maso a Derek wo bɛka wo ma ebobo mpaye no ho na masrɛ ye maamenom ye nuamanom baako na woni nim ye no nyina abom mpaye sɛ de nyame honhom bɛka wo bia no yemfa dwumadi enhye awurade nsa ye na awurade ase ne yensrɛ sɛ nyame no a ofrɛ wo mo no obema wo mo de ehia ne de asoso wo mu adofo no ye sre nipa mienu na wo ma bom mpaye amaye medamo ase my mom pie Nyankopon enwumrei yeda wase washo hwen munyam wo aforebo kese enhyehyɛ pa wo ma ye wo Ghana efri atifi kusia na afo eba apueye ne atoye yedi gu akwan mu koka nyamsem kese ati sei asedane ye yinka odin wode wo maako wo makoka Ghana fo ho yaka wasem no de epie firi mu bia hye wo nsa urade wo na wode wo nsem ama wo mu yesre se obiara o respondo ye no pa wo nsa to no so na ma omu nye enye wasem enye ntintima ewo asafo no mu bra honhom ne be ka kire wo mu ye de asofo asompanyimfo asafoma community wo ma ekekire wo mu se urade ma wo mu enam so ehunu wo yie enwumri ye hia sika e de akoboa wo dwuma ye hia sika e de akoya apomdene eho machines ye hia sika ne de amanipa ahwe wo mu ayakoka nyamsem akire wo mu una sika ne geta wo urade yesro de wo de adom ye ni de betimi de aboa no ye mfa de wo nyina moa wo dwuma enwumri ye da wase yesro ma ye nyina ye konno missions ma ye nyina mfa ye ho nyim ne mfa resources ye wo nyina moa wo dwuma ka ye ho bra ye kwakodei so ya daye na afi so frefre wo ma ayi ni asedan kaudin o Yesu din mu amen